fulfillment of the commandment of being seen here by God. This is the one place on earth where, as a Jew, I am actually obligated to pray, and the one place on earth where it's actually I'm not allowed to pray. So this is a supreme and ultimate irony. This is the place where all prayers of mankind, before they go to God, before they ascend to heaven, they come here. So we are now on the southern side, and we're looking up at the side of the temple. Now there are 2 points on the sanctified area of the Temple Mount that are of extreme importance, and they're connected. They have a spiritual connection, and those 2 points are the heart and soul of everything that we're talking about here. Those 2 points are the place of the altar, which is the very place that Abraham bound Isaac, and the place of the foundation stone. What are these 2 places? The foundation stone is the very center of creation, of the spiritual universe and the created universe, and that is it's called Even Hashtiyah, and it comes from, the root of it is Shemimenu. The rabbi says Shemimenu Hushtata Olam, because from it the world was founded, was formed. It's called the navel of the world, and that is the place, as I mentioned, that prayers ascend to, and that is the spiritual foundation, as it were, of longing for the Creator. The place of the altar has a very, very unique status in Torah thought and in biblical law. The Maimonides, the expression that he uses to describe the place of the altar is very, very unusual, very exceptional. He says about the place of the altar, he says, Mikomo mechuvan biyoter. The place of the altar is exceedingly specific. In other words, to the nth degree. In other words, when the temple is rebuilt, the altar has to be built in the exact same spot, and it can't be moved even a millimeter from where it stood. Why is that? First of all, again, this is the place where Abraham bound Isaac, that's true. But this is also the place where all of the ancients built their altar. It's actually the place where Adam built his altar, and it's actually the place from which Adam was created. Where we're standing now, in the time of the temple, any person can come, a non-Jew, a Jew, and unfortunately there is a certain misunderstanding that many Orthodox Jews have about the Temple Mount, and they say, oh, you know, you can't come to the Temple Mount. It's something that is disturbing, and you hear about it all the time, that you know, people say, oh, how could you come to the Temple Mount? That's a terrible prohibition, you're not supposed to come there. And this is based, unfortunately, on a lot of misunderstanding, just like any other area of intense Torah knowledge. In order to be qualified, in order to really understand it, and in order to really make a study of it, you have to sit down with serious diligence and study the sources so that you can understand exactly what it is that we're talking about. And unfortunately, because we as a people have become, over the 2,000 years of exile, disconnected from this place, and it became something which was thought of as not being actual, so people didn't make it into a serious study. And if they would have understood that the prohibition of entering into the sanctified area when one has been exposed to death, which we all are, of course, because now we don't have the ashes of the red heifer yet. So that is precisely that. It's a prohibition against entering into the sanctified area. In other words, yes, we don't have the ashes of the red heifer right now, and therefore we cannot go past a certain point. But where we're standing right now, I want you to understand that not only are you allowed to come here as we are today, even though we haven't been purified by the red heifer, but in the time of the temple there could actually be a corpse right here, and that is not a defilement. That is okay. But that's the idea of knowing exactly what the different areas are, the lines of demarcation. I'm not going to give a full study now here on where one can go up until and what level of preparation one has to do for each area. And the reason I'm not going to is because I don't want someone that's viewing to judge for themselves and to decide for themselves. Every time a person comes to the Temple Mount, if it's the first time or even the second time, and a person isn't familiar, you must seek the guidance of a competent Orthodox rabbi who is learned in the area of temple studies, so that you will not desecrate the Temple Mount. Whether you are a Jew or a God-fearing Gentile, you mustn't come unless you're sure exactly of where to go. But you must come, so therefore you must become sure of where to go, because it's very, very important for you to come, and it's the best thing that you can possibly do. You hear a lot in the very, very glib effective news machine. You hear about the fact that this is the third holiest place for Islam in the world. There's nobody here. I don't see throngs of Muslim worshippers coming and worshiping here. Basically, the time that it's important to them is when they're called here by not by Muslim clerics who might be sincere about their beliefs, but by Islamicists who use Islamic theology for political gains. If you look at pictures, if you look at illustrations, if you look at photographs, that is, of the Temple Mount from the turn of the century, even from the beginning of this century, you will find that the place was in total disrepair. You'll find that everything was broken and weeds shooting up everywhere. And there wasn't much interest here. And basically the time that they became very interested in it is when we came back. So it may be the third holiest place in Islam, although of course it's not mentioned anywhere in the Quran. The word Jerusalem does not appear even once in the Quran, as opposed to the over 700 times that it appears in the Tanakh and the Bible of Israel. So if it is the third holiest place for Islam, I wish them well, but the fact is it's the only holy place for the Jewish people. It was never, Jerusalem that is, was never a capital for any people other than the Jews, and certainly never a Muslim or an Arab capital. And this is one of the great ironies that we face when we discuss the whole concept of the Temple Mount. That's one of the aspects of coming to the Temple Mount now, which is still like a pilgrimage. The Mishnah stresses to us the tremendous amount of reverence that we have to have for this place. For example, we're not supposed to be frivolous. We're not supposed to engage in any levity on the Temple Mount. We also, for example, are not allowed to make the Temple Mount into a shortcut between 2 points. Let's say I want to go from there to there, and the easiest way of a straight line is to go over the Temple Mount. You're not allowed to make the Temple Mount into a shortcut. Someone said in a very ironic way that unfortunately in 1967 we made the Temple Mount into a shortcut to the Western Wall, because unfortunately the Western Wall became like the sanctuary for the Jewish people, and we forgot about the Temple Mount. The Western Wall, with all due respect, it's a very holy place, but you have to understand something. The Western Wall is only sanctified by the prayers of our people for 2,000 years. In the time of the Temple, the Western Wall had absolutely no significance whatsoever. It's merely the outer wall, the retaining wall around the Temple Mount complex. And there was nothing going on there of any spiritual nature whatsoever, and the sages did not even mention it until many centuries later. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later. So it's ironic, because this is the place where God instructs us to be seen by Him. This is the place where He wants us to come. And those who come here today, it's like they have to explain. Well, people say, why in the world do you want to go to the Temple Mount? How could a person not want to come to the Temple Mount? This is the apple of God's eye.